We've had some really unique and fascinating segments over the years on Metro and More to share with you, and another one coming up. We're at the new Construction Education Center at the Fort Omaha campus to chat with Stan Horrell. Stan, of course, has had a lot to do with the $90 million building project here, and we'll chat about that. But we'll also talk with Stan about he came to realize his career after making a midlife change, aided greatly by becoming an MCC student. Coming up next, MCC notable alum Stan Horrell on Metro and More. Greetings from the set of Metro and More at Metropolitan Community College, serving more than 50,000 students with over 120 programs at our 8 locations in the daytime, evening, weekends, or online. Stan, good to see you again. Great to have you on the show, on location here. We've chatted numerous times about your role as Director of Campus Planning and Sustainability, but never about your days as a student here at Metropolitan Community College. Sure. Notable alum, Stan Horrell. I guess this is all about, one of the unique things about you being an MCC student, as I alluded to, it came as a midlife change for you. Tell us a story. Sure.
I was working in the construction field, and I had been for quite some time running my own business, and it became apparent to my body more than anything else that I was not going to be able to do the field work that I had been doing for 20 or 30 years. And so I thought that I would get out of construction and get into computer programming or figure some type of career more related to computers. And so I started here while still running my own company, and I ended up graduating with a couple of associate degrees here in computer programming and database management. And at that time, the college needed a project manager for construction. So since I had been not only a contractor working for the college, but also a student here, they asked me to apply for the job. And so I applied as a project manager in facilities, and over the last 20 years, I've had some great opportunities here at the college.
You must have thought you were a pretty big deal of being asked to work as a student here. That's a unique.
Well, I was actually doing
experience.
some contracting work for the college, they had some idea of my capabilities. So
yeah, it's funny. You should mention in your particular line of work, construction. I was just talking to a guy working on a construction project close to where I live, and he was giving me the same story. He said, I got about 2 or 3 years left, and I got to segue into something else.
Right.
But MCC is uniquely positioned to help folks that were in your situation. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, the real truth is that there's a lot of changes coming to the construction industry. Specifically, they're becoming more technologically oriented all the time, and the communication skills needed and the team skills needed for actually putting together a large project are heavily needed. So not only do we need entry-level people, but we also need those mid-level career people who have some training so that they're able to move up in their career and do a little less field work, a little more coordination.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people will make a midlife career change, take a 90-degree change, 180-degree change. Yours was related to what you were already doing.
Yeah, I thought I may be making a huge change as well, but fortunately for me, frankly, it did not turn out exactly that way. The facilities department needed a technology lead at that time, too. They needed somebody to help them put together some databases. They needed somebody to help them kind of make the next moves, evolutionary-wise, into technology for the facilities department. So it wasn't only my construction ability, but the technology training that I had that made me a good candidate as well.
You think back to your early days. Now, this transition started in the early 90s, right?
Actually, no. It was. I went to work here about mid-90s. I started here as a student.
As a student.
Right.
Yeah. But you think back to your early days in construction, you go from a slide ruler to a slide rule and a ruler.
Well, not many slide rules are used on a construction site. If you can't figure it out with a pen and a piece of paper in the old days, you didn't get too far. Calculator, of course, but it was mostly basic math, a little bit of algebra, but mostly basic math. But that was a long time ago.
At what point did you realize, boy, this is really going to change? You're looking at technology and seeing how maybe that would be incorporated into the industry.
It became increasingly evident that computers and technology were going to affect every facet of every business. And so, to continue to move forward, you either have to get on board or you become relegated a little bit to some of those functions that are kind of old school jobs. So I decided to just make the leap.
Now, when you got into construction, what kind of education did you have?
High school.
Just high school?
Just high school.
So today, can you do that?
Well, you certainly can in the construction field, but the difference is you're probably not going to go very far. I mean, you can certainly probably work up to maybe a superintendent or a team leader, but the skill set needed nowadays is completely different than it was when I started. I mean, it's showing up on time and hard work is construction, but the ability to coordinate large teams and work with lots of other different trades. That's the real key in construction.
And how did a guy manage to do that back in the day?
Much less efficiently than today. There was a lot more chest thumping. There was a lot more
meaning.
Well, meaning the biggest, baddest guy on the job normally had his way. So things have changed tremendously.
So, did that translate into a more sound building at the day's end?
Well, I wouldn't say that the construction is any better than it used to be, but the buildings are incredibly more complex. And we'll see some of those things today when we walk around through the building. It's just that for the basic workforce skills, certainly, like I said, show up on time and a good attitude and work hard. Those will get you through the basic skills. But when you have to work with 5 or 6 other sub-trades and you have to understand what they're doing and stay out of their way and complement their work, therein lies the challenge. There's a lot more teamwork than there used to be.
Being named a MCC notable alum, I have to ask, when you became a student here and were working at the same time simultaneously, did you ever envision you'd be here today?
Not a clue. Did I envision we would have one of these buildings? Not a clue either.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is an amazing piece of architecture, and I can't wait for the tour. Could someone have built a building like this back in the days before all the tools you have now were available?
Yeah, you could have, certainly. You would have struggled probably in certain instances, but the main difference is this was built pretty much on a fast track. It only took about 7 months to design this building and less than a couple of years to put it together. So it's pretty fast track. That would have been difficult to achieve in the old days.
Talk about the concept of a midlife career change and how MCC helps folks accomplish that.
Well, the mantra here for a long time is that the college will meet you wherever you happen to be in your life. So the college has deep experience helping career people reorient, and we teach a lot of later adult learners and help them make those career shifts that are necessary. The college is completely competent in doing that.
Not only in construction.
Not only in construction, but a myriad of other fields as well.
How about in construction? What are the things that folks come back here to either brush up on or learn anew?
Well, like I mentioned before, technology is really beginning to change out in the field. Most of the prints that we used to work with in the old days are gone. Most everybody orients off of an iPad nowadays. All the communication is electronic, so a lot of folks come back here to understand how to manipulate those prints and plans electronically, and once again, those communication skills.
The building here you mentioned took 7 months to design. Mm-hmm. As being in construction, are you a designer as well?
No, I am not.
No, I am not. You had input?
Certainly, the owner always has input in the buildings, and the owner's as responsible.
You own it?
Well, MCC owns the building, but I function as kind of the owner's representative in those conversations.
Yeah.
So, and we had lots of input from our faculty and staff. Lots of input from our facilities department, so we knew where we were headed. And 7 months, quite frankly, is a little rapid. I think our design team could have had a little more time, and it would have been a little smoother during construction.
Well, congratulations on being named a notable alum.
I'm thrilled.
Very good.
Thank you.
Nate Berry is the Dean of Construction here at MCC. We're going to ask Nate to join us on the set, and we'll chat more on MCC's Metro and More right after this. Welcome back to Metro and More. We are at the new Construction Education Center here at the Fort Omaha campus. Nate Berry, the Dean of Construction, has joined us for our chat with Stan Horrell, MCC notable alum. Both of these gentlemen had almost everything to do with the new Construction Education Center. Let's talk a little bit about this project, Nate. You and Stan, how it came to be and how it's going to be utilized.
Sure. Well, I first heard about the project after it was already under construction and what Omaha was doing when I was at the University of Nebraska out in Kearney. So once, kind of how I got here is once I heard about what MCC was doing in the area of construction education and working so closely with industry, I knew I had to be a part of it. So I was fortunate enough to come on board. And at that point, the structural steel and the projects and the conception and everything was already done. So Stan, fortunately, kind of took me under his wing and kind of talked to me about the vision and how it came to be and where we were at. So my involvement has been more on the curriculum side and how we're going to educate inside the building. And when you're given a education space like this, you can be as innovative and creative as you want to be. So
especially when you're building it new, right?
Absolutely.
Lots of back and forth between the two of you in this process.
Absolutely, and all the faculty as well. Additionally, Nate has been really busy helping the faculty that's here redefine the curriculum a little bit. Maybe you can speak to that real quickly.
Yeah. So the first thing you do when you have a new education space is you can't teach the same way that you've taught for 50 years in construction education. So we started looking at the space itself, and then you start thinking about, well, on the blueprints, it's called a lab space, but is it really just a lab space? And what it really is a new learning environment. So how can we ingrain technology into the lab space where there might be, it's a different environment. There's different noises, there's different dust, there's different, you cut wood, you have sawdust, you have all this kind of stuff. Well, how do you protect that technology and still make it available to the students? So that's when a lot of conversations have to be done about how, just the simple selection of the computer that is durable enough to sit in an educational space and still user-friendly enough that the faculty aren't afraid of it and they're eager to use it. So those kind of conversations, they don't happen overnight.
So did what we wound up with look anything like what we imagined at the beginning?
Well, absolutely it did. We are now building some trainers in all of these spaces, and the trainers themselves are slightly different than we imagined when we started building, but the spaces are all the same.
Trainers meaning, you mean individuals or?
Yeah, and we hopefully upstairs anyway, we can take a look at some of these trainers that are put together and begin to explain a little bit while we're talking about. But these are individual workspaces so that the students can operate in their own space and put together, whether it's HVAC or electrical, or they've got some training areas built specific for them to learn inside of, because they're actually handling real materials here. It's not classroom work here.
Yeah, so
there is classroom work.
It's lab work.
A great example is in our electrical program. We have framed up a 2-bedroom house that students will actually wire and hook up and make sure they work. We framed up a bakery on the commercial side, so they'll learn how to wire a commercial building. Inside this building, we have those kind of things going on. And in plumbing, they'll be simulating underground plumbing work. And in HVAC, we have real air conditioning equipments that they'll be able to take apart and troubleshoot. And not only do we have the hands-on equipment, but then we've got the technology and the computers behind it that then the students will also work on to diagnose the problems, to read the blueprints and everything. So not only did we build a building like this, but then we're literally building buildings inside the building for the students to work on.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
and those are the trainers that I was referring to.
Those are the trainers.
Yeah. Places.
Yeah, places.
We'll take a look at those in just a second.
Yeah.
Sure.
Nate Berry and Stan Horrell at the new Construction Education Center. Stan, a notable MCC alum, and Nate, the director.
The Dean of Construction.
Dean of Construction.
Yep.
How unique is all this? I would guess maybe one of a kind.
Well, we like to say that. I've had the fortunate experiences that I've worked with a lot of other educational institutions across the country, and I'll say that they don't have anything like this, and I'm more than happy to send them pictures, and they're asking questions about what we're doing to make sure it works. So,
do you think there is anything like it?
I don't think there's anything like this in the Midwest. We've taken great examples, and the architects and Stan, they really did their homework, and they looked at examples, in Arizona and Wisconsin and Atlanta, and they've taken components about, what other people have done to come up with this building. And then this building then will become one of those portfolios that then other people look at too.
Sure.
For
a price.
I would say, I would say there's a handful of facilities in the country that do this type of simulation and education. There's not one in the Midwest.
Would you guys consent to giving me a tour?
I'd be
Absolutely.
happy to.
All right, we're going to get up and we'll take a look right after this break on Metro and More. Okay, gentlemen, let's go.
Okay. One of the things when we were designing this building is we tried to make the building itself a teaching tool. So there's lots of features you'll see in this building that you won't see in other buildings. We exposed the steel in a lot of places. We opened up our lab so that you could see inside. The ceiling above you, which would normally be hidden in a regular building, is all exposed so that you can see everything that exists above a ceiling. And the way we draw the public's eye up there is we have changeable LEDs that change about every minute or two colors just to get your eye up there. And this is one of our typical construction labs, and we have some, we're just getting these labs set up right now. But we've got technology embedded in these labs, and we'll have all of our construction equipment in there.
Yeah, so this would be a construction carpentry classroom, which would normally, you would just go and you would work with the materials, and then you would have to go to another classroom and sit down and have the lecture portion and presentation part of the education. When here, we'll have all the equipment set up, but then you'll notice on the walls too, those monitors, those screens, they're all-in-one computers, they're whiteboards, they can play videos. So now the instructor, when a student is having a problem, we can call timeout. We can spend 3 minutes over there refreshing what we're supposed to learn, and then we can go right back to the portion. So everything is integrated into one right now.
Once again, talking about this building being a teaching tool, what we've done is we've opened up the wet wall of a bathroom, which you would never ever see normally, and so we'll be able to instruct our students what that wall looks like without actually having to tear anything out of the way. It's a lot better than using the textbook.
How would you have done it before?
This has just been a plain wall. You'd have walked straight down by this. You'd have never seen a bit of this.
And on the education portion, we would have tried to show pictures or get a textbook, or if we had to, we'd put them in a bus or a van and take them out to a job site. Now we can walk in the hall, and this is the operational portion of the building. There's bathrooms on the other side. They can see all the components, and then we'll come in with graphics on this glass to really talk about, okay, what does it mean, sanitary sewer, what does that mean? We'll have little educational blips.
It's like going
on
to a
this
museum.
glass. Absolutely.
Yep, a functional museum.
That's right. Stan, let's show them the plan reading room. I'm excited about the technology in that room.
Let's take a look.
Now, what is this?
This is kind of our project management blueprint reading room.
Yep.
So what we've got in this room is we've really kind of simulated what a plan reading room would look like in a big corporation, where we've got a large table where you can actually roll out a large set of blueprints if you need to, and physically walk around and talk about how we're going to tackle the job or the project. But then we've got different team stations with computers and then screens where the students themselves can work in little teams and come up with plans of attack for the job site management or wherever you might have it. And then finally, we've got these plan tables.
Wow.
These plan tables are essentially giant iPads.
I want a screen like that just for my television.
Absolutely, right? So this screen can lay flat if it needs to. It can come up so we can see. And then more importantly, Stan, why don't you tell them what's on here right now?
One of the buildings in this project is our central utility plant. Mm-hmm. And so that was one of the first buildings that we did. And to allow our students to understand, this building is remote. It's about, less than an eighth of a mile away or something like that. But to allow our students to see that, what we've done is we've gone in and digitized the interior of that building. So we can teach them about reading the prints for the central utility plant, and we can take them on a walking tour at the same time. So, and this particular program actually allows you to scale this out. If you wanted to get if you wanted to get dimensions of these pipes or the space between the machinery, this program would do it for you. But if you want to go down and talk about a particular machine,
Wow.
you just go down there. All these spots on the floor are navigation points, and we can bring up the manual for this particular boiler.
Can I push one?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
go for it.
This one?
Yeah. Just going to take you a little further down the hall.
Oh, wow.
And this is all of our electrical gear that runs it. Then back over here we have our pumps that are taking the hot water out to distribute. But we can show these students everything about this particular plant right straight from this room. And for that fact, you could actually get this off of your phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if
So-
you're going to go into construction, you got to go to MCC.
gotta
This is incredible.
It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
It truly is.
Yeah.
So this is part of the educational environment here.
Yep.
What's next?
Upstairs, our electrical
Upstairs?
labs.
Let's go. So all of this is unfinished for a reason, right?
Yeah, so right now we're in our electrical technology program. So what you've got here is you've got what our electrical students would walk into on a construction site. So if it's a commercial building, you're going to see a lot of metal studs. If it's a residential building, a house or an apartment, you're going to see a lot of wood frames next door. So what we have here is we've framed up, this happens to be a bakery, and over here we have a hair salon. You know, two examples of commercial spaces that require some unique electrical components. So then the students, their job is to read the blueprints and then wire up and hook up the entire components and actually turn it on and make sure it works.
And then you tear it down for
And
the
then
next
they tear
one.
it down for the next one. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And then on the residential side, we've got the same thing. We've got two-bedroom houses. So they've got to wire up the bathroom and the kitchen and the bedrooms, all per code, according to the local Omaha building standards.
And now how would this be done in a classroom if we didn't have this?
You would do a lot of examples out of a
lot of
book.
bookwork.
You would do small trainers. You know, you might have them frame up a light bulb or a wall, and then you would talk about how you might expand that. But what this allows you to do is this allows our instructors to be creative. Every quarter or every lesson, they can put different nuances or something they might see where maybe there's a different structural component that you can't go through. It's an LVL or it's a steel beam that you can't drill through. So then you can start talking about how would you handle this in the field. So this allows us to simulate what they're actually going to see out in the real world.
You know who the real winners are the employers.
Oh, absolutely.
They get
Yeah.
a hold of a student that's gone through all this.
And that can't be overlooked is how much input we've had from industry on all of these labs. All of our faculty have reached out to our advisor council, to industry, saying, okay, what is it that the students need to know? For them to be successful, and that's really where this has come from. You know, we have great faculty on staff, but they're great because they are always connecting with industry and making sure that we're serving them the way we need to.
Very cool.
And I would say virtually all of them came from industry as
Absolutely.
well. So.
Yep.
Including Stan.
Yeah, that's right.
Where are we going now?
One other little quick point we ought to hit before we leave. We ought to show them the Capstone Lab and talk about the potential for the Capstone. We can shoot that from the second floor.
That's
up here
right. It's a
looking
great
down there.
view up here.
What we're looking at here is the Capstone Lab for this program. And the potential here is that they will actually build a house, a modular house inside this Capstone Lab, lift it up on a semi that'll come in through that glass door down there.
Why do you call it Capstone Lab?
Well, Nate, you want to?
The capstone idea is when the students get done with their education, kind of that last quarter they're here, you want to be able to give them a final exam, a final test. So a capstone, the end before you go out to the real world.
This
So
is the pinnacle of the
that's
program.
right. So what a better test than to say, okay, build something that's actually going to go in the community, that's actually going to serve the North Omaha and the greater Omaha community. And what a great educational and civil experience for the students to know they're working on a project. You know, they get excited about doing that in the real world in there, but they also know it's going to be torn down when they're done.
Yeah.
Right? When you have a project that is going to be going out in the community, they put a little extra time into it. It means a little more.
And so how often will this part of the educational process be turned over and started?
So this will be a year-long process. So we're hoping to produce one house a year is the plan.
So you bring it in.
You bring the materials in. You
Put it
build the
together.
house, put it together there. You lift it up on a semi utilizing the crane, and you take it out and set it on a foundation in our community.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So,
What a concept.
Yeah.
okay.
So where are we going?
So this is the architecture and civil engineering labs. it looks like a normal computer lab, but then once you look closer, every student has a 32-inch monitor. So when it comes to design work, the architecture community has said rather than having dual monitors or multiple monitors, really the most effective way to do their work is one large monitor. So that's what we have.
Very cool.
And then to complement that, we have a drop-down screen and projection, so the instructor can have whatever the class lesson is up in front, and then they work on their own projects simultaneously.
So an architecture student's going to spend a lot of time in one of these labs.
A lot of time.
Right.
Yep. Exactly. This is our residential training lab, and we're just beginning to set this up, so it's still a little messy as we begin to get these machines all connected.
Residential training lab, HVAC.
For the HVAC, yep, for the HVAC program that we have here. So that program has been at Elkhorn for about the last 30 or 40 years. So we moved it to the new campus, given it new space and all brand new equipment. So you're not going to get any more real-world hands-on than these labs in the HVAC industry. So as you look around, every student's going to have a real unit to work on.
How do you simulate units that are broken down that they have to go out and repair?
You hire really, really smart, creative faculty. We've been really lucky. We've just brought on 2 new faculty that have both come from industry. So they know the types of things. They know how components break in these units. So they can go on and they can set this one up to have a faulty valve, and they can set this one up to have an electrical issue. They break them, absolutely.
Right.
And then they teach students to run those diagnostics, because one of the major issues in the construction industry is the misdiagnosis, of a problem, and then customers are overcharged for things that they don't need. So we're really conscious of that, making sure that we're diagnosing things properly.
And there's some software training that enables all of this as well.
Absolutely.
There's some simulations that you can run, customer interaction.
And it's no accident that there are as many units as there are. I mean,
That's right.
What's just to accommodate the number of students? Or?
Yep. The rationale is the number of students, but in these labs, there are safety issues, so we do have to kind of cap how many people can be in here at once, depending upon how many instructors we have to teach any given unit.
Yeah.
And even though the units look similar, some of them are gas, some of them are electric, some of them are heat pumps. Some of them are just multiple different kinds of units. So the idea is, we cap our classes at about 12 to 15 students for safety purposes, like Stan talked about. So
in every area, or just here?
In every area, we can fit a little more in the civil engineering and architecture because of the computer labs. We have some space, but in most of the areas, because we do so much hands-on, that 12 to 15 number.
12 to 15 to 1.
Yep.
Basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're working, quite frankly, with live electricity, live tools.
That's right.
So you need to make sure they're being used in a safe manner, and that takes education as well.
Guys, I can't thank you enough for the tour. Final thoughts?
I actually want to thank the college for the ability to help them with this project. It means a lot to my career. It means a lot to me personally.
Great. Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
And I would just encourage anybody that hasn't come to the Fort Omaha campus in the last few years or driven in the area to take a few minutes to come on by and just see what's going on here.
Yeah. You're not going to believe it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it very much. Stan, Nate, thank you very much. And there you have it, a chat with notable MCC alum Stan Horrell and the story of his days here at the college years ago, brought to you by the MCC Friends and Alumni Network. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate it very much. I'm Kent Pavelka for Metro and More. If you have comments or questions about the program, please email us at metrovision@mccneb.edu. Thanks for watching.
This has been a MetroVision production produced by Metropolitan Community College.